Let's talk about something most people struggle with but rarely admit. Letting go when it hurts, but doing it with strength. Not with drama, not with desperation, not with a grand exit speech, just quietly, sharply, and completely. Because the truth is, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to beg for closure, chase clarity, or cling to what's already slipping. It's to walk away like it never had the power to break you. Not because it didn't mean something at one point, but because you mean more. To yourself, to your future, to the life you actually deserve. Today, I want to give you the mindset and the permission to forget like it was nothing. Not because you're cold, but because you're finally done. When someone doesn't value you, the most powerful thing you can do is go quiet. Not because you're playing games, not because you're trying to make them chase you, but because silence is the language of self-respect. So many people think that walking away needs to be loud, that they have to explain, to argue, to convince the other person of their worth. But the truth is, the more you talk, the more you give energy to something that already showed you it's not worthy of it. Silence isn't about being cold, it's about preserving your peace. It's not a performance, it's a boundary. In relationships, we often feel the urge to prove something when we're hurt, to show the other person what they lost, to try and get them to finally see us the way we hoped they would. But here's the hard truth. If someone couldn't see your value when they had full access to you, they're not going to suddenly recognize it because you explained it better. People don't miss you because of your words. They miss you because of your absence. When you're no longer giving them your time, your attention, your energy, that's when they start to feel the cost of their choices. Staying quiet is a discipline. It requires emotional strength to resist the urge to send that last text, to not check if they've noticed you're gone, to not leave little breadcrumbs in the hope they'll follow. It's choosing to exit with dignity instead of drama, and dignity doesn't need an audience. Silence also creates space, not just for them to feel your absence, but for you to feel your own presence again. When we're wrapped up in someone who isn't right for us, we lose touch with ourselves. Our thoughts are wrapped around them, our emotions are reactive to their behavior, our self-esteem becomes dependent on how they treat us. Going quiet isn't just a message to them, it's a reconnection with yourself. It's the moment where you stop outsourcing your worth and start reclaiming it. There's this quiet kind of power in choosing not to engage, in being unavailable to what no longer serves you. You're not punishing them, you're protecting you. You're not trying to manipulate an outcome, you're simply removing yourself from a situation that isn't aligned with your standards. And that's the moment when your silence starts speaking louder than anything you could have said. People will notice when your energy shifts. They'll feel it when they can no longer reach you the way they used to. And the ones who genuinely care, the ones who maybe didn't realize what they had, they might wake up. Or they might not, but that's not your concern anymore, because this isn't about what they feel, it's about what you allow. You teach people how to treat you not through arguments or long speeches, but by what you tolerate, what you walk away from, and how quietly you do it. Silence, in this sense, is not passive, it's intentional, it's the sound of self-respect, it's the absence of begging. It's the calm after the storm where you realize, maybe for the first time in a while, that you don't need them to get it. You just need to get out, quietly, sharply, fully. Being sharp doesn't mean being cruel, it means being clear. In the moments where you're finally ready to walk away from someone who has shown you, through actions, not words, that they're not right for you, your power comes from the precision of your exit, not from yelling, blaming, or trying to make them feel what you feel, but from making a calm, clean choice. Because when you've reached the point where you're no longer confused about what you deserve, staying in something unclear becomes a form of self-betrayal. Too many people drag out endings. They rehearse their breakups in their head 100 times, imagining different ways to say the perfect thing, to get the perfect reaction. But the truth is, if it's not working, it's not working. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to convince them why you're leaving. When someone can't meet your needs or respect your boundaries, the most respectful thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to end it clearly and decisively. That's what it means to cut clean. Clarity is not coldness, it's compassion. When you prolong something that's already over, you're not sparing feelings, you're increasing confusion. You're leaving doors half open, sending mixed signals, and making healing harder for both of you. It might feel gentler in the moment to ease away slowly, to stay friends, to leave room for a maybe. But softness without truth isn't kindness, it's avoidance. Being sharp means drawing a clear line. It means saying, "This isn't working," and allowing that statement to stand without 1,000 disclaimers or justifications. We live in a culture that sometimes equates caring with staying. That if you really cared, you'd try harder, hold on longer, forgive more. But real care, especially for yourself, means recognizing when your energy is being spent in the wrong place. You can love someone and still leave. You can wish them well and still choose yourself. Being sharp isn't about punishing the other person. It's about not punishing yourself by staying in something that's already expired. When you're clean in your exit, you don't second, guess yourself later. You don't ruminate over what you should have said or done. You walk away knowing that you did the right thing, not the easy thing, not the perfect thing, but the right thing. That sense of integrity becomes your peace, and peace is always more valuable than the temporary comfort of staying somewhere familiar but wrong. People respect boundaries more than they respect breakdowns. If you want to be taken seriously, don't shout, stand firm. Don't plead, decide, don't play games. Make moves, that sharpness, that clarity. It's not aggression. It's alignment. It's you saying, "I know what I want and this isn't it." It's you refusing to compromise your standards just to keep someone in your life who couldn't meet them. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been someone who over-explains, over-apologizes, or tries to soften every truth. But growth often feels uncomfortable, and the discomfort of clarity is far better than the slow pain of staying stuck. Every time you choose a clean cut over a messy entanglement, you're choosing your future over your fear. Ultimately, being sharp and clean isn't about being heartless, it's about being honest. It's a sign of maturity, self-awareness, and respect. Not just for them, but for you. Because you're no longer willing to waste your time explaining your worth to someone who never truly saw it. You're ready to move forward, free from the emotional clutter of unfinished conversations and almost relationships. And that's not cold, it's courageous. Forgetting like it was nothing doesn't mean you didn't feel anything. It doesn't mean the moments weren't real or that you're pretending nothing happened. It means you're choosing to stop carrying the emotional weight of someone who couldn't carry you. You're choosing to detach with intention, not because you never cared, but because continuing to care is costing you too much. Emotional detachment isn't about becoming numb. It's not about shutting yourself off from love or pretending you don't have feelings. It's about recognizing when those feelings are doing more harm than good. It's about noticing when holding on to the hope, the idea, or the fantasy of someone is keeping you stuck in a cycle of pain. It's making the decision, moment by moment, to reclaim your energy from someone who's no longer present in your life in any meaningful way. The mistake people make is thinking that healing only begins when it feels right, when the pain fades, when they're no longer thinking about the person. But healing isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you commit to. And that commitment often starts before your emotions catch up. You have to start letting go before you feel ready. You have to create distance, even when you still care, because the longer you wait for your emotions to give you permission, the longer you stay stuck. Intentional detachment is a conscious act of self-preservation. It's you saying, I deserve better than this confusion. I deserve better than mixed signals and empty promises. It's not dramatic. It's not reactive. It's steady and deliberate. You start by removing the little things that keep you tied. Checking their socials, rereading old messages, rehashing the past in your mind. You stop feeding the emotional loop. And each time you do that, you're sending a message to yourself. We're done here. Sometimes people think letting go has to be loud, that it needs closure or a final conversation or a moment where everything is understood and wrapped up. But real detachment doesn't rely on anyone else's understanding. It doesn't need validation. The most powerful decision you can make is one that doesn't need to be announced. You just stop showing up in the same way. You stop giving your energy to something that gives you nothing in return. That's what it means to forget like it was nothing. It's not erasing the past. It's refusing to relive it. It's acknowledging that while it might have mattered once, it doesn't get to matter anymore, not at the expense of your peace, not at the cost of your growth. You can look back with grace, but you don't have to keep reopening the wound. And here's the truth, when you decide to emotionally detach, you take your power back. You stop waiting for them to change. You stop wondering if they'll come back. You stop making your healing dependent on someone else's actions. You become the one in control, not of them, but of you. That's where your freedom lies. This isn't about pretending. It's about prioritizing. You're prioritizing your mental clarity, your emotional stability, your forward motion. You're creating space for better things by releasing what's already proven to be misaligned. And maybe that's what forgetting like it was nothing really is. It's not that it meant nothing. It's that it no longer gets to mean everything. Not when you have a life to live, peace to protect, and someone better to become. Closure is one of the most misunderstood ideas in relationships. People often wait for it like it's a key someone else has to hand them before they can move on. They think it comes in the form of a final conversation, an apology, or a heartfelt explanation, but the truth is, closure is not something someone else gives you, it's something you give yourself. And the longer you wait for it to come from another person, the longer you keep yourself emotionally tied to someone who's already made their choice. It's natural to want answers, to want to understand why they left, why they changed, why they treated you the way they did. The mind craves logic and resolution, but relationships aren't equations. People can love you and still not choose you. They can say all the right things and still not follow through. They can care in their own way and still fall short of what you need. And no explanation is ever going to fully satisfy the part of you that simply wanted to be loved better. Closure from them often doesn't come, or when it does, it's vague, incomplete, or even more confusing. Sometimes it's a final text that opens more wounds than it closes. Sometimes it's silence that says everything but gives you nothing to work with. And in some cases, closure is offered only to ease their guilt, not to support your healing. Waiting on someone else to wrap things up neatly is like waiting for a storm to apologize for the damage it caused. It already happened. The only thing left to do is rebuild. The most powerful shift happens when you stop asking, "Why did they do this?" and start asking, "Why am I still holding on?" That's when healing begins. That's when you take your power back. You stop obsessing over their reasons and start focusing on your recovery. You realize that your peace doesn't depend on their regret, their clarity, or their remorse. It depends on your ability to say, "I've seen enough, I don't need more to know this is over. Closure, when you create it yourself, is not about having all the answers. It's about making a decision. You decide that you've replayed the conversations enough, that you've analyzed their actions enough, that you've hoped for change long enough. You decide that you're done letting someone who's no longer in your life continue to affect your mood, your mind, and your heart. And you do it not with anger, but with finality. You start closing the loop in practical ways. You stop checking up on them. You take down reminders. You stop revisiting old messages. You rewrite the story you've been telling yourself, not the one where you were abandoned or not enough, but the one where you learned, grew, and outgrew the relationship that couldn't hold you. That's real closure. It's not a moment, it's a mindset. Some people never give you the apology you deserve. Some situations never make complete sense, and that has to be okay. You don't need perfect understanding to move forward. You need self-respect. You need to trust your gut that what happened was enough for you to walk away. The peace you're looking for is on the other side of letting go, not in continuing to search for meaning in someone else's mess. So stop waiting, stop holding space in your life for someone who's already exited. Give yourself the closure you thought you needed from them. Because the moment you stop looking back for answers is the same moment you start looking forward to your future. And that's where you belong now. When you say it's over, it has to actually be over. Not almost, not kind of. Not I'm done unless they text. The moment you decide to walk away, your actions have to match that decision. Because the truth is, most people don't struggle to move on because they didn't get closure, or because their feelings were too strong. They struggle because they keep leaving emotional back doors open. They say they're done, but they check in. They say they're letting go, but they revisit the memories, stalk their social media, or wait for signs of change. That's not being done. That's staying stuck. When something is truly over, you have to make it final. That means no more checking what they're doing, who they're with, what they're posting. No more rereading conversations, holding on to screenshots, or imagining a better version of them that never existed in reality. Every time you look back, even for a second, you're inviting old emotions to resurface. And each time those emotions resurface, you reattach to something you already decided was no longer right for you. Healing isn't linear, but it also isn't possible when you keep breaking your own boundaries. We often romanticize the past, especially when we're in pain. It's easy to forget why you left when all you focus on are the good moments. But if it were truly good, you wouldn't be here trying to move on. There's a reason you got to the point of saying, this isn't working. There's a reason you felt drained, confused, or unappreciated. Don't erase that just because you're feeling lonely or nostalgic. Memory is selective, and pain has a way of making us long for the familiar, even if the familiar wasn't healthy. Being over means cutting the emotional cord, not just the physical one. It's not about blocking someone out of spite. It's about protecting your peace. If seeing their updates throws you off, if hearing from them sets you back, if staying in contact keeps your emotions tangled, then distance is not cruelty, it's clarity. It's your way of drawing a line between what was and what is. You're not being dramatic, you're being disciplined. And discipline is what gets you out of patterns that feelings alone can't break. Some people think that staying friends after a breakup proves they're mature or evolved. And while friendship can be possible in some rare cases, often it's just a disguised attempt to keep a door open. If the emotional attachment is still there, that friendship isn't really friendship, it's avoidance. It's an excuse to stay connected, to avoid fully grieving, to leave just enough room for a possible return. But if you truly want to heal, you have to stop managing the connection and start releasing it completely. You don't have to hate someone to let them go. You just have to love yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve. That love shows up in the choices you make after it ends. It shows up in your ability to not respond, not reach out, not chase closure, not beg for recognition. Over means over, not waiting, not checking in, not hoping they'll change. Over is the full stop, not a comma. It takes strength to walk away, but it takes even more strength to stay away, to not let your emotions override your decision. To trust that peace will find you on the other side of detachment. You don't need to make noise to prove your worth. You just need to make space for something better. And that space begins the moment you truly let go. Without conditions, without exceptions, without turning back. The way you carry yourself after something ends says more than any words ever could. You don't have to make a scene, call someone out, or prove how much you were hurt to be taken seriously. The real message is in your movement, how you respond when someone treats you poorly, disrespects your boundaries, or fails to show up for you. That is what teaches the world how to treat you. Your standards are not something you announce, they are something you live. When you stop entertaining people who are inconsistent, unclear, or unavailable, you're not just protecting your heart, you're setting an example. You're silently telling anyone who crosses your path, this is how I expect to be treated, this is the level of energy I give, and it's the level I receive. It's easy to say you know your worth. It's much harder to act like it, especially when your feelings are still involved, but that's the work. That's what makes the difference between staying stuck and stepping into a better future. There's a kind of power in quiet decisions. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't need to explain 100 times why you're done. You simply stop showing up where you're not valued. And in doing so, you shift the energy. The people who once took your kindness for granted start noticing the absence of your effort. The attention they were so used to having is no longer there. And while that might get their attention, your goal is no longer to be seen. It's to be respected. Respect doesn't come from constantly giving people second chances. It doesn't come from always being available or endlessly forgiving. It comes from having boundaries that you enforce with consistency. When someone sees that you're willing to walk away, not in anger, but in alignment, they understand that they don't control you. That you're not waiting around for crumbs, that you're not hoping they'll figure it out. You've already figured it out. You've figured out that you deserve more, and you're not afraid to lose someone who can't give it. Your standards don't make you difficult. They make you clear, and clarity scares people who benefit from your confusion. When you know what you want, and you're not afraid to walk away from what doesn't match it, you become someone who can't be played with. Not because you're cold or bitter, but because you've done the work. You've been through enough to know what peace feels like, and you're not willing to compromise it for the illusion of connection. People will test your standards. They'll come back with apologies, with just enough effort to reopen the door, with promises they don't plan to keep. And your job in those moments isn't to analyze their intentions, it's to remember your own. You didn't leave because you stopped caring. You left because you started caring about yourself more, and that shift in focus is what changes everything. The next version of you is built in those quiet moments where you say no, where you walk away from almosts, maybes, and mixed signals, where you hold your own hand instead of waiting for someone to hold it for you. The next chapter of your life depends on the boundaries you keep, not the ones you talk about, but the ones you live by. Let your actions speak for you. Let the way you exit, stay gone, and level up be the proof of your growth. You don't need anyone's approval or recognition to move on. You just need to hold the line. Your standards will do the talking. And the right people will either rise to meet them or remove themselves. Either way, you win. At the end of the day, the power to move on, to heal, and to rise above lies within you. It's not about what they said or didn't say, not about waiting for closure from anyone else, but about reclaiming your peace and choosing yourself every single time. When you forget like it was nothing quietly, sharply, and fully, you're not erasing your past, you're making space for a better future. A future where you set the standards, protect your heart, and live with the confidence that you deserve nothing less than real respect and real love. So stand firm, walk away with dignity, and remember, the strongest version of yourself is waiting on the other side of letting go.